Yo, what's up?
Good morning, good morning, good morning. It is 11 o'clock on a Wednesday. It is access denied. It's funny, like the weather, it couldn't be better, but we know the storms are coming. So it's just funny being outside looking around, like we're gonna get this good weather, then we're gonna get the storm.
Come on now. Somebody said on Facebook it might look like the Wizard of Oz outside later on. And welcome our co-host.
Yeah.
Hello, Carson. Good morning to you.
He just heard me get loud and proud. He was like, hold on, let me wake up and find
Yeah.
out what is going on. The
And
storm
then
is
there's my
coming.
Gigi. There's my Gigi. Yeah. What's up, John Little? How's your week been going?
It's been like the stock market. It's been up, it's been down, it's been all around. Organizers, we got fellowship coming this Thursday, so been planning for that and going over the slides and working with the team. Had a few community meetings, some big things that may be coming on behalf of our team. Getting ready for Easter egg hunts. When in an opportunity to talk to all the parents and just and then trying to like spend time to make sure we're not forgetting about our own kids. And so my seventh grader, making sure that he's on the right track as we get ready for T and ready. Because he didn't do too well this last year. So just trying to catch back up.
Well, Carson looked like he milk wasted. Yeah, John, all that you talking about, like it's a lot going on with the cheering and with the
Mhm.
parents too. Shout out to our parents. I see y'all coming on here.
Come on
Come
now.
on in here. I see Jeanette. Good morning, Jeanette. Hey, Caitlin.
Come
They
on.
coming on in here. Y'all come on in here. Like and share. Let's go. Let's get this thing started. I'm a little excited. I don't know if it was my ham sandwich and my Doritos or what.
Hey, that's been the meal of champions. But one of the things, saying that I want to talk about before we get into a lot of the local stuff, is really an opportunity from one of our cousins, as we say, out of Memphis. This past week, they were able to do a grand reopening, which was amazing. But one of the great things that happened, they talked about this parent resource center. So I want to pull up the article just a little bit to go over and just highlight the possibility
Yeah.
that we
Yeah.
can have as parents and not waiting on, people outside of the community to do for the community.
Yes, a shout out to Sarah Carpenter and the Memphis Lib. We are so excited for you guys. And the thing is, like you said, John, it helps us to dream and believe.
Mm-hmm.
And I always call Sarah Mother Movement. She's my
Mm-hmm.
mentor. I look up to her, and I am just so happy about the opportunity. I'm not really sure like what lies ahead, but I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure that they'll be announcing soon, like the steps that they're going to take with this resource center. So we are just very proud of them.
Yeah, and I'll do a little bit. So he says Memphis. It says the headline is Memphis Left will open Parent Resource Center thanks to a $1.5 million grant. And then it just said when Sarah Carpenter and a group of Shelby County parents founded Memphis Lift in 2015, the goal was to amplify parent voices in a city that is home to most of Tennessee's lowest performing schools and has historically struggled to engage families in public education. And then just the last piece, it'll be called the Brenda Rogers Parent Resource Center, named in honor of Carpenter's late mentor and friend, will be a space where parents and families can have basic needs met so they can have the energy to focus on education, said Ashlyn Spark, Memphis Lift, co-chief of staff. And there we go.
Yes, yes. So congratulations. That is exciting news.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Exciting.
Yeah, I saw some good pictures coming out of there last weekend. A lot of people out and having that grand reopening and had
Mhm.
people from all across the country come out. So it's just good things happening in public education. But I'll tell you some of the things that we're looking at in public education in Tennessee. They're still debating this funding formula, which we're waiting to see more clarity. A lot of people are making are making assumptions and predictions and how they feel about it. But what we do know is it's not finalized yet. It's still going through the process. I know we'll also talk about, again, we got T and Ready coming up, right? Like, what does that mean? What are some of the things that we can do? What are some of our hopes? I also, Son, you want to go back because it was such. If you missed it, it's on our page. But we did the March speaker series with Dr. Chanel Lawson, and it was everything we needed. So we'll spend a little bit of time with that because we got so many parent comments. Sonya, just anything on your part? Did I miss anything?
No, I think that you hit a lot of areas that we're hearing from my parents,
Yeah.
right? One of our speaker series next month, we'll have Sonya Dobbs talking about IEPs.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Get
I
ready.
know you guys are like wondering, like, how do we come up with, um, our topics? Well, we listen to our parents.
Mm-hmm.
We
Point blank.
listen. We listen to our parents, and this is about our parents. This is about growing a movement of parents. This is about building our relationships with you guys and developing your power and your knowledge and your understanding. And so you need the tools to do that. And we believe that
Mm-hmm.
when we unite, when we educate and we activate parents, then our children will get the education they need and deserve. So
Man, amen. So one of the things, first, let's go into the mental health, kind of what stood out for you. Again, I just remember a lot of parents chiming in, and it was amazing to see. But as you know, it was kind of that was hard to see, realizing that this is a large problem, just not for the few of us, it's for many of us. And just what are some of the things that you guys that you remember talking through, Sonya, that was really helpful for parents? I remember at one point it could have been like 20 comments just came back to back to back.
yeah. So one of the reasons why we had that particular speaker series because just to be vulnerable about our community.
Yep.
Um, this is a movement for parents by parents, and we represent Black and Brown parents from our most struggling communities. And our community is struggling with mental health.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
struggling with mental health. We're struggling with trauma. And then I think one of the key things about that was understanding what social emotional learning was, because a lot
Mhm.
of schools and the education platform they're talking about social emotional learning, but what I realize and what you realize and what our organizers realize and our team realize is parents don't even know what social emotional learning is.
Come on now.
We're throwing around these terms, these acronyms that go
Hmm.
over parents' head. And we wanted to make sure that we took that information and met our parents at our level where they are, because they are just as brilliant. But when have things like SEL printed
Right.
somewhere, they don't know what that is.
Right. Yeah. And I remember one parent that just stood out to me. I want to say her name was Miss Taylor. And I think Miss Taylor went to school with me, but she started to talk about East and just how they were not being a big help in social emotional learning. And then she talked about just having 12 kids. And that was so wonderful to see because with everything that's going on, she was taking her time to get on and say, hey, like, I'm going a mile a minute. This seems like this conversation is great. And she was chiming in and she was very transparent. And I think her transparency allowed a lot of the other people who were listening in to be transparent. And we realized that, yep, thank you, Dr. Lawson. Thank you, Propel, for putting this on. Like, we know this is an issue amongst the whole district.
Yeah, and I think it's important that we as parents and people understand what people are saying about our children and what they're
Hmm.
saying that our children need. We know best what our children need. And so when you think about social emotional learning, it's about being able to cope. It's being able to have soft skills when they go to when they go to the corporate world, they're going to
Right.
use the word soft skills. What the hell does that mean? Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, what it is it's helping the child to be able to cope, to be able to respond. It's self-awareness, it's self-management, and it's a relationship skills.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
yeah,
So again, check it out. Look back on our page. Not only was she able to have a conversation about it, Dr. Lawson was able to drop some links that parents can go to and use as a resource. And I think she even dropped her website at the end, just in case you got any follow up that you want to speak directly to her. But that was amazing, and I could really appreciate that.
yes.
Sonya, I'm gonna ask you something. Have you heard back since you put out and Propel put out the statement about Hillsdale? I didn't get a chance to check last week. I wanted to check this week and see have they responded to offer an explanation on that?
I asked for Governor Lee and Dr. Swin, Penny Swin, to respond. I have yet to receive a response.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You want to know what I think about that?
Yeah. What do you think about that?
That's why we need a movement of parents. I'm
Yes.
one person. And so just responding to me, they ain't afraid of me.
Right.
But when we have a movement of parents who show up at the Capitol,
Mm-hmm.
I think they'll respond.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Amen.
that's why it's important to have a movement. I'm just one person. So they're like, that's just that sign
Right.
of us.
Yeah, we're just gonna wait it out.
We're just gonna wait it out.
So it's just with that, and if you guys didn't know, again, background is there was a proposal to bring close to 100, maybe even 150 new schools, new charter schools through a college, Hillsdale's college. But the biggest thing was the curriculum they were going to teach and the manner of how they were going to bring it. And it just has caused the state to pause. And just as a team, we read it, discussed it, and discussed it as we wanted to put out a statement, and that's what it's in reference to make sure you're not silent in times that these decisions can have a negative effect on our communities.
And just to just kind of recap that this is our stance, that we won't be co-opted, meaning we support
Mm-hmm.
good quality charter schools,
Mm-hmm.
but we do not support
Right.
schools that are not good for children. And what was bad about these schools were, first of all, they had no experience in actually operating schools. We're not gonna start dreaming with our kids and pushing your ideas, and you ain't even tested it out. Number one, we're not no test tube, no test monkeys or whatever. Excuse me. Number one. Number two, um, the ideology, the ideas that they were wanting to use in their curriculum were filled with untruth and lies. So what they wanted to do is say things like, you know, there's no institutional racism, systemic racism. That they don't want to talk about slavery and those types of things. They only want to talk about things that they can use to indoctrinate the minds of children, which is unsafe and it's demonic. These schools were Christian schools, and they are exclusionary in
Mm-hmm.
public education because we have our Muslim friends. We have our friends from different places
Mm-hmm.
that we love, who are like family to us, and those schools would not be conducive to accepting them as people. So that's why those are some of the reasons.
Yeah.
And we were not going to accept the white supremacy that was coming along with that.
Just call it like it is.
All it is. Call it
Call
like
it.
it is. When
Yeah.
racism comes to your front door, don't you let it in.
Mm-hmm.
Don't
Shut.
you don't
Yep.
you let it in. Don't you dare.
Yeah. I'm gonna tell you, I had a conversation with this guy out in the community. I think it was this week. This week is going by so fast, but this week, and we were discussing. Some people, they think they're the smartest people in the room, and he said something. The way he started it, I was like, "Oh, here we go." Like I was getting ready. He started his comment was, you know, our schools were really good in our communities until they desegregated them and brought in people from outside of the community and did busing. And so, woo, I was like, all right, like I got a suit on, it's professional, it's after hours, like. But then he started to break it down. He was like, what I know is in the North Nashville community, they had good teachers. What they were pushing for was getting the same supplies as we were getting in Donaldson. And I was like, oh, tell me more. Tell me more. He was like, what I seen when they started to bust the kids from their community, it took away their identity. It took them away from the teachers who lived right in their community. And then this guy, 72 years old, just started going through. He was like, we were bussed into the town, y'all were bussed out of town. But he was like, what they really needed was people who had empathy for them. He was like, everybody lived in the schools they taught at, they lived in those neighborhoods, and that accounted for something. And that's just a question for you guys. Hey, Miss Taylor, I see Miss Taylor jumping on, but just do we think desegregation was the best thing, or do we think it was not a good thing, or is it somewhere in between?
You asking me?
We putting it out there, but yeah, if you kick it off.
I think what's important is the background knowledge.
Yes.
The background knowledge is just deeply rooted in racism for me. Like
Mm-hmm.
you cannot have this conversation without talking about the racism in education. You cannot have this conversation without talking about children walking to their first day of school with their lives threatened
Mm-hmm.
because they wanted and needed something like everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
And you cannot have this conversation without talking about the white families that exited the school
Mm-hmm.
system because they didn't want to be with our children or be with our people.
Our
So
school system is 86,000 now. Back then in the 60s,
100.
it was 100. Still ain't made it back there yet.
Mm-mm, mm-mm. So when I hear people say they want to save public education,
Mm-hmm.
I want to know what they're saving and who they're saving it for.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and you have a lot of people that say that school choice is what caused or was the demise of public education. But let's talk about who started first.
Mm-hmm. By creating their own schools.
White parents did that.
Mm-hmm.
So go talk to them about that. Because right
Yeah.
now we ain't getting what we supposed to get.
Yeah. And that took money out the system because since those students, that 100,000, I mean, if you look at it, that's 14,000 more kids times 12 to 15,000. Like that's money that's decimating the public education run. But I say people were practicing school choice even back then, Sonya, who were not leaving the public schools, but they were using the auntie address or grandmama address or my friend who got my back, I can send my mail their address. But if you couldn't do that, that was the only way you could practice choice.
Man, I saw somebody post today. They posted on Twitter and said that we should do away with school choice and everybody go to public schools and improve it. And for the life of me, I can't figure out that that type of thinking. Like I understand it. I'm like, what is that gonna do? What does that do for anybody? And I just think people miss the point. The point is there's like a history of multiple layers of racism. You got
Mm-hmm.
the redlining, you
Yeah.
got all of these things that play into or feed this inequitable system. So
Mm-hmm.
I can barely answer your question without telling the whole story.
Yeah. 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 And Miss Taylor says it's been a lot of gentrification going on in our neighborhood, school and staff, and that's a form of racism when everybody moved out to Donaldson and they created those suburbs, they moved all the black people inside the city and they created Casey and Joe Johnson and Cheatham Place and Salem Town. And now when people are wanting to move back in, it's they're trying to flip it. And that's through gentrification, as she says. And then Yvonne says racism is layered and it's hard to see when your ear is not in tune to the words and language. In education, it's underlying. Example, removing black facts from history books, not discussing why racism exists, how Hillsborough High School was built before black people could attend the school. I can keep, hey,
Okay. That's what I said. I
yeah.
can keep going. Hey, we got to tell the whole story behind this because there is a story and
Mm-hmm.
there is a danger in a single story. And there's a lot of information. And I want to shout out our team because these are the things that we are teaching our parents through our parent advocacy fellowship. We are making sure that we're developing the knowledge of our parents around this. Like a lot of parents didn't know. I didn't know
Mm-hmm.
until somebody taught me. I was bused from 3728,
Mm-hmm.
1714 Simpson Street. It's the
Come
only
on now.
original house still on that street,
Yep.
John. We got the
I
roll
know
over
I
there.
know your address growing up because I was like, oh, like I need to just go over there one day.
Yeah, it's our house is the only house that had some remodeling to it a little bit. It's the
Mm-hmm.
only house still standing from all the way from 1975 when I lived there, right? But I was bused all the way to Brookmead Elementary School.
Mm-hmm.
I never knew why. I
Mm-hmm.
never understood it until I became an adult.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Gentrification pushed out the impoverished and segregates the schools. Rhea says, where is the logic sending our baby to a felon school to make it better? And that's, I'm and parents chime in and just if you practice school choice, and school choice is simply, you got your zone school that you're zone to that they'll go to, or you got your opportunity to practice choice, whether it be academic magnet like Megs or MLK or a school like Nashville School of Arts. I think East is open enrollment, or you can, if you're zoned to Stratford, you want to send your kid to Pearl because of the music program of the academy. You have the ability to do that. But who of our parents practices choice either with your kids or grandkids? Like, let us know.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I think of school choice, I think about being able to make an informed decision,
Mm-hmm.
meaning having the information I need, the knowledge I need of what that school has to offer my particular child.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I wonder. So when you think about magnet schools, or you think about even some charter schools, which are public schools, which are free, like, do you really have a choice? Like, does magnet schools really need to go on the school choice list? Is it really an option?
Right.
Because if you don't have the literacy and math scores, you can't go.
Right.
So why is that like that's not an option? And
Yeah.
then answer this for me. How many black children in there?
Yeah. Lockland was a choice. So these are schools that I've always just tried to sign Lil John up for. Lockland, wait list. We tried to go to Glendale, Immersion. The wait list was so long, Sonny, they didn't even give us a number. It was essentially like hang it up. Like, Stanford Montessori, he was 300. Whole Jackson, he was like 150. But yeah, like Megs, like 322. Like it ain't stopped. Like we still trying to get in there, and we still on the outside looking in. I guess Chris Amos Black says, I feel like the system makes the choice for us, even though they offer us a choice. Yep, Lachlan used to be 50 and 50, right? And then no transportation. So a lot of people would get accepted to the school, realize they didn't have transportation, and say, yeah, I just can't do it because I can't get my kid I can't drive my kid to school every day. Some days I might have work.
But it's amazing how parents decision has been politicized.
Yeah, yeah.
Like Joe Biden. I love to hear Luma say Joe Biden. I love to hear Luma say Joe Biden. Joe Biden once supported school choice.
Mm-hmm.
As a matter of fact, John, pull that picture. We ran up on him.
Oh yeah,
February 2020.
Come on now.
About his education plan, because he changed his story once the teachers union. He wanted to get the endorsement for the teachers union.
Mm-hmm. And he took a hard line.
Yeah, but when we ran up on him, we ran up on the president of the United States.
Yeah.
Real facts.
Yep.
Joe backed down to that.
Yeah, he got on a bended knee.
He got on a bended knee, baby. When he dropped down that knee, I think I said, what the and he busted out laughing. I don't know if you got that picture, but that was funny as hell. I said, what the? Y'all know I cuss. I'm sorry. But it's good the president he had a sense of humor too. He cussed too. Mm-hmm. But the point is, Joe sent his kids to school where he wanted to go. Mm-hmm. And we just want the same privilege.
Yeah, it ain't personal.
It ain't personal. This business. Yep. That's one of them. Yep. That's when he was talking. That's when he was talking. John, remember we tried to get loud?
Yep.
We like, wait a minute. We tired. Wait a minute now.
We listen to you every day. It's time for you to listen to us.
You're not going to talk to us like that. But that's speaking truth to power. Mm-hmm. That's speaking truth to power. That's what it looks like.
Wow, yeah. And let me go to a couple of the comments on you that are coming in. We got when we asked the question about practicing school choice, Ms. Taylor said public schools don't get things accomplished until the race is right in the lead role. Joyce says we do. Yvonne says school choices is parental sacrifice, sending them to schools out of the zone area. I did it with all four of my daughters.
Daughters?
Yep, 4 daughters.
Who you let book out?
Yep, I feel like the system makes the choice for us, even when they offer us a choice. I think Son Yu is digging into that. Miss Moffin, who is one of our top commenters, says, my daughter is going to Republic for their art classes. So again, choosing schools, magnet schools should not be an option. That's from Miss Taylor.
But wait a minute, let's stop right there. Mm-hmm. So I'm finna school y'all on something. Not all schools that have the word magnet school is a magnet school.
Yeah, it's an academic magnet.
Not an academic magnet. So be careful. Because there's one in particular that says that they are literacy magnet school and less than 5% of the students are reading in their school. That's why choice needs to be an informed decision for parents. You got to be informed, or you're gonna get the okie doke.
Yeah. I never forget Robert Churchwell, and I love Robert Churchwell. During Read Me Week, I went to go read to those kids. But I remember a lot of parents showed up on the first day when they remodeled it, and they called it Museum Magnet. Families showed up and ready, and it was a rude awakening because it wasn't what they signed up for. But they thought because it had the word magnet that the school was expanding, and it was they would envision, the Megs or the other magnet schools in the area, and it just got to be careful, like you said, Sonya.
You do. You got to be. I'm sorry, y'all. We got a puppy. We potty trained him. I was getting nervous because he came out the cage and I thought he was gonna pee on the floor. Okay, we got him back. I'm sorry. I got distracted. I'm like, get him out. Get him out. Put a diaper on him. I'm so sorry, y'all. I was like, oh, please don't let this dog poop and pee on my floor. I would have a nervous
We
breakdown.
ain't got time to clean. That's a deep
I ain't got
clean.
time for that. I'm sorry. That's my grand puppy.
Yeah. But Yvonne says, right. MLK students, the parents drive from as far as Franklin to commute to Nashville. And they probably using a relative's address because they coming from Franklin because it has to be in Davidson County. So they still practicing choice. They just practice. They like, we can pay for private school, but we just gonna use my brother's address and we're gonna sign up at MLK.
But that's privilege.
Yep.
Because when you think about just in recent years, there was a white parent who did that for college, like who undermined the system basically, and got their child into a college, and then you got a black parent that used somebody's address and went to whole jail.
Yeah, and she used her father's address, and the father ended up dying in jail. I just, that's a whole nother topic. That's a whole nother topic outside of education, but just keeping it towards that one. He wanted to do this was his house, his granddaughter, and they still sent this man to jail for making sure his granddaughter was in the school that he paid his property taxes at, that he'd been paying it for years.
Yeah.
It's a sad day in America when somebody die in jail or even go to jail.
And all he wanted was the best for his grandchild.
All he wanted was the best for his grandchild. Oh, it's people that's killing people on accident, not getting jail time. So that's a whole, yeah. When we think about racism and for someone to see fit for this man to have to go to jail and not just spend a day in jail to just like a smack on the hand, like nah, like hard time enough where it broke his heart probably. And that's one thing I want to talk about voter registration, Sonya, and not to jump around, but this is on my mind. It was a lady in Memphis. They gave her 6 years. 6 years for getting help from a government official to register to vote, like making sure like she got the A-OK from them. And you know what they told her? They said, you knew you couldn't vote, so you just manipulated. So they gave her 6 years. She just got out because they appealed it. But if no one would have appealed it, she would have been in jail for 6 years. Why they trying to take away?
Will you send me that article? I want to study that.
Yeah.
Look, this is what happened. This you being able to make informed decisions about your child is controlled by those in power. It's controlled by. You have people in power who are changing what our people did and what they fought for us to be able to vote. And you have people in power right now in 2022 taking us all the way back to 1963.
All the way back.
Under your nose. So as a parent, so I know you're probably like sitting there going, well, why? What does this matter? I'm glad you asked. Thank you for asking. The people who make decisions about the things that affect you the most, whether it's where you live, even what some of us eat. When I think about SNAP and those things, education, your vote, your ability to vote, like. Your ability to vote is your power. That's what makes you as a citizen powerful. And when you think about it, well, why are people trying to take that away from us just like that, right? Yeah. Because they're trying to take away your power. So what they do is they put these stipulations on there. If you don't have a driver's license, if you don't have if you change the address, they'll send you to this place and that place. If you have a felony, maybe you messed up early in life.
Yeah.
Maybe you made a decision that was life and death. Maybe
Yeah.
you made a decision about school choice for your child and you
Yeah.
got a felony,
Yeah.
right? Like good people have things like that happen to them. But what the law says is that if you're a felon, then you're less than an animal.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And what they count on is you not knowing that there are steps for most felons to get their power back. That's another one. And we're talking about this because as it relates to education, our organization is nonpartisan. We don't promote any candidate, any certain candidate, but we do want to make sure that our parents are informed about who's on ballots and make sure that they are making the decision and using their power to put
Mm-hmm.
people in places where we have the same values. It's important.
Yeah, and Sonya, and again, I just think this is important to know why we have to register to vote.
Mhm.
We have to get registered. You have to restore your rights because here's the article, and in its entirety, that gives you a little bit of the breakdown around what happened, and it says, the headline is Tennessee woman right here in Tennessee sentenced for voter fraud. Well, the update is she got a new trial, but right here it says a Tennessee woman sentenced to prison for illegally registering to vote while on probation will get a new trial on that charge. But it says Moses, 44 years old, was convicted in November of registering to vote illegally in Memphis in 2019 and was sentenced earlier this month not to 6 days or 6 months, to 6 years in one day. She said she was unaware that she was ineligible to vote. She said in 2015 she pleaded guilty to 2 felonies as well as misdemeanors and was placed on probation for 7 years. She filed a motion asking for a new trial. Legal experts have called her sentence excessive.
Mhm. Yeah. So my question is, if she was ineligible, then we do have a system that does
Mm-hmm.
tell you that you're ineligible. So that's not her fault.
Mm-hmm.
Number one. Number two, we're impressing upon you the fact that you must know your rights. And people are they're working tirelessly every day,
Mm-hmm.
even at our state capitol right here in
Mm-hmm.
Nashville, to ensure that they suppress the vote,
Yeah.
and in particular, Black and brown voters.
Yeah.
Black and
So
brown voters.
that was just something that really it took me aback because I'm like, how could you ever? Like 6 years. That's Yeah, I just thought it was satire. I thought I was reading the Onion. And I was like, oh, this is like national news. Like
Mhm.
somebody really looked at the lady and said, "Yep, I'm gonna give you
Mhm.
six
Mhm.
years."
6 years. 6 years.
Yeah,
6 whole years.
72 months.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just for us, that's how powerful it is to have the ability to vote. And some of you guys on here, I know a lot of you guys are registered, but I know a lot of you guys on here that may be registered. You done move, you done changed addresses. We're getting ready to drop a link. Click that link. It takes you to our website and helps you determine the address that you have on file, or if you even registered still because the state of Tennessee purges. Check that out. And if you're not, or if you need to change your address, click that link and go through the site, and the site will take you directly to where you need to go, so you can get re-registered or updated address or just registered for the first time, which would be amazing. We'll shout you out.
So the thing is this, y'all, to recap what John was saying, the state of Tennessee has deliberately
Mm-hmm.
purge your vote. So let's say that you voted. You voted in the last presidential election. You voted in the last school board election. You're like, I voted. You better go look
You better go look. Click that
to see
link.
if you still registered. Are y'all listening? If you hear our voice, there's a link in the comments. Your call to action is, even if you just voted, that you go on there, make sure that you're registered. And if you're not registered, you say, I ain't never voted in my life. And I'm going to tell you, you are not using your power. It's the most powerful thing you can have is to register to vote and to exercise your right to vote. It's not enough just to register. We need you to exercise. Our school board elections have the lowest turnout in elections. And we are determined that we're going to make sure that our parents get to the polls, but we cannot do it without you. John, remember the parent we had in our fellowship who we sent out the voter registration link to? And she went there and realized that she was not registered, but also people in her household had been purged. You remember that?
I do.
And had we not brought this up to her and she had not gone to the site, it takes you directly to the state site, she wouldn't have known. It's real stories. We can't make this stuff up.
Yeah. So again, click that link. We'll repost it, but it's just important because if you're not at the table, you're on the menu, and the table is having that voter registration card or being in the voter register database to give you that right to say something, because people ain't gonna listen to you if you're not.
And Yvonne says she's researching voters in Davidson County. Yvonne, contact us. We have probably maybe an easier way to do that. Would love to collaborate with you. Not sure what the initiative you have, but would love to collaborate and talk more about this. And if there's anybody else that you really, really care about this issue, please reach out to us. And we would love to work and partner with you to make sure that other parents and grandparents in our communities get out and vote.
Yeah, voting is priceless. Voting is powerful. But yes, and it's a couple things coming up. Just to give again, for the longest since I can remember, we have had the BEP, which is the basic education program, that how we fund public education here in Tennessee. There's a new thing that's on the horizon. It's being debated. It's being finalized, and then debated again. But it's with TISA, and it's and correct me if I'm wrong, but it's the Tennessee Investment in Student Achievement Act, Tennessee Investment in Student Achievement Act. And there's some things today is going to be in the House. I think tomorrow it's going to be in the Senate. So just keep an eye on that and look for updates from us, because this is super duper important. And we want to make sure as Nashville Propel that whatever funding formula they create or recreate, we want to make sure it supports the students, the Black children here right in Davidson County, because it's been if we look at our communities, reading rates, math rates, graduation rates, ACT, more help is needed.
Yeah, and it's the Tennessee Investment in Student Achievement Act. And it invests in an estimated of $9 billion in education funding for the state, including state and local funds, and would transition the Tennessee's current K through 12 public school to a student-based funding approach. So just to kind of break that down, the formula would be more of a student-based formula with weights, meaning that certain children, like with disabilities or EL students or students in poverty condensed neighborhoods, would get more funding to support them and meet their needs. And also the formula, what's more important to our families is that not only that they fund the student, but also produce outcomes,
Outcome. Yep.
making sure there's outcomes like money is needed. Money, the blessing for the money is we bless the money. Like, yeah, thank you for the money, but we want to make sure that there's a return on our investment.
Yeah. Sonya, I bought some Freon from AutoZone last year because my car wasn't producing cold air. Still ain't producing cold air, but that's a whole nother thing I gotta deal with. But I remember feeling proud, right? I bought the Freon from AutoZone. I got on YouTube and I connected it to it, and I started pumping the Freon in, and it started getting cooler. And then I went in the house, and then I got ready to leave, and I cut my air on. Sonya, you know what happened? The
Hot.
air was back hot again, right? And so I could have went back to AutoZone and got 10 more cans of Freon and pumped it in. But if it was a hole and it wasn't working, producing the outcome, I was just wasting Freon.
Yeah. Boom.
That's how I feel right now when it comes to money. Like, yep, we definitely need more money, right? I'm not disputing that, but why more money if it never makes it to the kid, if it never produces better results in our kids, just on the simple, basic things, reading, writing, and arithmetic, right?
Yeah. And if anybody refutes that, they are making excuses and they really don't have the best interest for children. So if
Mm-hmm.
anybody tells you that, you know, we should get more money and not focus on the return on their investment, which is our children. Like
Yes.
our children being successful, knowing how to read at or above grade level, graduating and being successful in the world. Like if that's not happening, then they just don't want to be held accountable. And you need to really think about and listen for those things from your elected officials.
Mm-hmm.
Like if they're more focused um, on anything other than outcomes for students, I want you to be listening for that. Like those are some those buzzwords, those things you need to be listening for. Like if they're just talking about we need more money, this and this, but they're not saying, okay, we need more money and we want to be accountable for that. We want to be good service over this money because it's for the kids and this is what we should be doing for the kids and making it happen.
Mm-hmm.
You have to question who you have to question who you're talking to and how to use your power.
Yep, yep. And Sheree Lenz, I see you jumping on. Come on in here and comment. We ain't seen you in a while. We love you. We miss you. Jump on in. But my granddad used to say he used to use the term "kicking the can down the road," right? And when I think about my granddad and we think about this issue, if we ain't dealing with it in K through 12, Sonya, you know when we dealing with it, the
In the
school of
prisons,
prison pipe. Thank you,
River being maximum security. I
thank you,
worked there for 4 years,
thank you.
and many of y'all's family members. I went behind them walls every day, and I worked in maximum security in death row. That's where you meet them at.
So every time little Johnny in the fifth grade, mom was like, "Oh, my son can't read." Like, and they say, "Oh, he'll catch up." And then he made it to the sixth grade and the eighth grade, and by the time in the 10th grade, they asked little Johnny to read out loud. He throw a desk. They think because he had a bad day, he like, "I ain't about to be embarrassed." And little Johnny never come back to class. Then you see little Johnny on the news, cause to survive, cause he can't get no job. Little Johnny done broke into somewhere. Little Johnny done maybe had a gun. Maybe done been caught 2 or 3 times. Now it's federal. And now little Johnny gone.
Because you know what they be thinking. Ain't nothing else out here for me.
Right. What I got to lose.
What I got to lose? Ask us how we know.
Yep. Experience it we see it every day. Sonya, I want to end on this and I'm gonna pass it to you, but this was on my heart. You know, I spent about 4 years of working in the school, doing everything. being the janitor, the lunchroom person. But one of the things I really enjoyed was like working on discipline and doing home visits with families and being like a reading specialist, right? Pull out. And I was in Walmart yesterday running through early in the morning because I done lost my charger. And as I'm running out to get back home, I hear this voice say, Mr. Little. And I turn around and it's Evan Smalley. And Evan and I are talking. I can tell he's going, through something. But one thing he said, man, like, y'all really cared about us. And even to this day, even though he's struggling right now, that's one thing he remembered, that we cared about him. And that can make a big difference. And he shot me a text. He told me, he asked if he can give me a hug. I was like, man, you gonna make me shed a thug tear, Evan. But it's the love that we shown that he was giving back. Sheesh, like that had to be, man, that was in 2011 to 20, man, yeah. So it's been a while. But that's what our kids need.
Man, I think Dr. Lawson said it best the other day that this generation is different from our generation.
Mm-hmm.
And what I gathered from what she said is we just need to listen a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
We need to be a little bit more empathetic
Mm-hmm.
and understanding. Um, I want to impress upon our people, our parents. Why? Because I believe I can have this vulnerable conversation with our parents. Our children are experiencing things that we never imagined. Our children are experiencing things that we never thought that we would have to handle. I remember the old saying of they don't come with a manual. And it's right, like none of us are perfect with parenting or being a friend or any of that. And our kids need a lot of help. Our parents need a lot of help helping our children. Our community needs to become more empathetic to that. And I'm not saying dummy our kids down or set low expectations. That's that's not what I'm saying. We got to set higher expectations. We can't dummy them down. We got to listen to them more. And we've got to be careful to not quickly respond when our children do something. We have to get down to the root cause of why they may be acting out, what they really are struggling with, finding ways to help them to express themselves because they express themselves totally different. I mean, I experienced that in my own house. And Monday night, I hope helped our parents. I hope and pray that it gave you an additional tool to make sure that your vision for your child comes to pass. That was the hope with that. We want to make sure that our parents have access and support to people who look like us and who can be empathetic and understanding. And I'm not saying that people that don't look like us can't do that, but I believe that we got to have a lot more of people of color who are in position to provide the services that our kids need, especially around mental health. Especially around mental health. All right, John.
Well said. Won't say anything after that. The last thing our in-house producer just put: if you're interested in the MNPS summer program, Promising Scholars, please make sure to register today. Today is the deadline, and then we provide the link in there. Um,
Yeah, please register um, please register. If you have a kid in MNPS or in a charter school and like register.
Yeah.
Use this Promising Scholars. They got a whole lot of slots. It's not very many people signing up, and I have a few theories around why. Um, but want to make sure that you have access to this Promising Scholars program. Um, Make sure you get your children signed up. Sometimes you got to put children in stuff they don't want to go into. Hell,
Amen.
I didn't want to sing the church choir. My mom made me sing the church choir, and I didn't
Come
want to
on
go to
now.
Sunday school.
Come on now.
I did not want to get up and go to Sunday school.
Come on now. Didn't want to go to school a lot of mornings. Like, let me
Didn't want
sleep
to go to
in.
school. So I know your kid's gonna be like, I don't want to do it in my summer. It's only a couple of hours. Get your butt up. You ain't doing nothing else.
Right. Come
So
on. Well, thank you guys. It's been awesome. Yvonne, Miss Taylor, Miss Moffin, Miss Gardner, Mr. Brown, and all of you guys. Like, thank you for tuning in. We'll definitely keep you posted. We'll be releasing the next speaker series as we told you, so be on the lookout for that. But check out our last speaker series and send it to somebody if you already saw it who you think it may benefit. Thank you guys. Mr. Little called me. Miss Cook, I know I owe you something. I definitely will be calling you. They're going to tell it.
Don't run up on you.